25 years and we're still in the groove. Active Directory making moves, organizing data like a boss, never getting lost, never at a loss. Users and groups in perfect sync, all your network needs in just a blink. Permission set tight and password strong. With AD you know you'll never go wrong. Active Directory dancing through the night. 25 years and it's still shining bright. Keep your systems running smooth and clean. AD, you're the tech world's dream. Trusty forests built to...
Everyone, that happens if you use AI to create a song about Active Directory. Hi, everyone, for joining. Thanks, Harm, Jeff, Evgeny, and Bruno for being here and celebrating 25 years of Active Directory. Can you believe it? This is amazing, right? I mean, and it's still alive and kicking, right?
Yeah.
So that's the amazing part. Even though everybody talks and uses cloud and stuff like that, but Active Directory seems to be sticky as hell, I would say. So I haven't met one company that got completely rid of AD. Maybe you did. I don't know. But for me, hybrid is everywhere, obviously. But yeah, so we gonna celebrate Active Directory. We're gonna share some stories. We can go through the timeline. I prepared a few slides here as well. But before we do that, maybe we just do a little introduction round, going clockwise like we are here in the stream. So Harm, you're the first one to say who you are.
Yes, Harm Veenstra, consultant, doing everything in Microsoft, and blogger mainly, as you can see on website link. And yeah, pretty experienced in Active Directory, been there from the start. So curious in your stories.
So I mean, you are that young. Have you been still around when AD came out?
Yeah, started from NT 4 and Windows 3.1, I guess. So
Okay.
only 47 years old, so pretty young.
Absolutely. So Jeff, yeah, how about you?
Well, hi everyone. Thanks for having me. I think I'm the old guy here. I've been
experienced.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Whatever. So I remember the big push from NT to 2000, and certification was all the rage, and it was just a different kind of world 25 years ago. And I can't believe it was 25 years ago. Thank you for making me feel even older today.
Evgeny.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me, Heike. And I don't know. I might be the old guy here, or
No.
I don't. We never compared like BIOS with Jeff, but I was around when that all came to pass, and migrations from like NT4 to Active Directory domain model started to pick up and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, so that firsthand as well.
So and you were crazy enough to write a book about AD in 2024, right?
Yeah, I was crazy enough to make a wager that AD is going to be around, in fact, for the next 25 years.
Yeah.
Because that's in the subline of the book. But yeah, from what I keep seeing in the field, it's a fair assumption.
Yeah, awesome. And maybe we can back to your book later as well. So yeah, Bruno.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. I'm Bruno. I'm an IT consultant and trainer. My first time I used Active Directory was in 2006 Afterwards, I did some migrations, some of the fun stuff, and let's say it's a good way to manage users, groups, shares, and so on.
Yeah, I think you can say that, right? I mean, being still here after 25 years kind of proves that point, I would say. So for me, I have to say, at that point when it came out, I was a NetWare Novell guy. So I knew the NDS, and then this tiny little AD came along, and I thought, whoa, this is how can I search for all the permissions and properties for an object? And that was like, okay, you cannot do this in AD, at least not the same way as with NetWare. So, but as time showed, right, their strategy was right, and they kind of not completely killed NetWare, but they targeted and aimed it, and yeah, it took a while, but I don't hardly know anyone even at all who's using Novell NetWare. Group-wise, I see once in a while, but really, but NetWare, I don't know if you guys still have any contact with this kind of stuff. So it's
not NetWare as such, but eDirectory is still around at a lot of organizations, and the Open Enterprise server by Micro Focus is also being used. They have some development there. Novell IDM, or whatever became of that Micro Focus IDM, obviously. Those tools are still around.
Okay, I knew about the eDirectory, but the other things I really weren't aware of. So interesting. Okay, so would you say this especially in big organizations that started to use that?
No, I wouldn't say big. I would say organizations with a lot of inertia to them, who just did not manage to standardize to one platform even today. So never migrated completely, like banks and insurance companies. And if your enterprise mission critical systems are joined to that eDirectory and running on that OES system, you do not touch those. You just leave them be, generate revenue until like the vendor comes along and brings the next version that is running on Windows or whatever, or a different flavor of Unix, and then you migrate the whole thing.
Sounds a little bit like, the company is still running mainframes because that's the money-making machine. It's written in languages nobody knows anymore, probably, right? Yeah. So I thought maybe we can just maybe go through the history a little bit, and just share maybe some stories. So everyone, I think, on the call was already there with when Windows 2000 came out, right? Yeah. So where you was this just like, oh, okay, that's a real game changer. So so Jeff, because you just before we started the live stream, you showed you have been one of the first being certified. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, one of the first 2,000 people worldwide to get certified on Windows 2000, which at that time really meant Active Directory. Yeah, so I was working for a Microsoft Gold partner at the time, and I got involved in a lot of Active Directory, or basically NT to AD. And at the same time, while we were doing those migrations, they said, you know what, because there was a big Exchange update at the time as well. And so a lot of organizations moved from NT to AD and also updated Exchange, which at that point, I can't remember what the version numbers were, but it was another significant change to the way people would organize their environment. So I was quite busy traveling around the Midwest in the US and doing AD migrations and Exchange migrations for primarily big universities.
Amazing. I think this was the time when Exchange 2000, where the shift from Exchange 5.5 to 2000 happened, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And was the first version that has a native directory integration. Because 5.5, you could run 5.5 against AD, but you'd need the Active Directory connector for that. And 2000 was the first version that would run AD natively.
Right.
Absolutely. And so when we go along the timeline, any significant things that, well, I guess 2009, of course, or the PowerShell integration in general, I think for all 5 of us was
because before then we still had command line tools for automating Active Directory. They were the DS commands, DSN, DS query, and so I was doing automation way back when, and so I should dig them up if I still have any of the batch files I wrote to automate that. And then eventually you could also use, at the time, you could also use VB script and use the LDAP moniker to work with Active Directory just from a pure LDAP perspective.
And Quest had those nifty commandlets that they even offered for free for a while as a part of active roles.
That's true.
So many examples found on the internet to this day in terms of automating AD are still based on those Q commandlets.
Yes, I remember using them when they came out, and then when the Microsoft commandlets came out. Now I want to think the Microsoft commandlets, well, maybe 2009 is about right, because I wrote a book while I was still working at Sapien, basically managing AD with PowerShell, and I basically took a task approach and said, this is how you do it with the Quest commandlets, because Quest actually kind of sponsored the book, and this is how you do it with the Microsoft commandlets. So I became really proficient on both of those tool sets. I thought it was before 2009, but maybe not.
And do you think? Can you recall that is really people took these tools into the arsenal pretty quickly, or were they still like the UI guys and?
Well, I think the big difference for me anyway was the Quest tools were really designed for IT pros. Saying, I want a Core Active Directory, I want to get user counts in this group. And I'm expecting to see everything about those people. But the PowerShell commandlets were written, and actually still are written, for basically developers. And they take a different mindset. They don't want to disturb or hurt or put any burden on the domain controller. Forget that it's a server and that its job is to do work. No, I don't want to work. I have to tell it exactly what I want. And for an IT pro, that's a different mindset, especially if you're used to work with the Quest commandlets. And I do get QAD user, and I get everything coming back. Versus get AD user, they say, okay, where are the rest of the properties? How do I discover what those properties are? Oh, I got to figure them out. I got to look it up. So it became much harder for an AD admin who was not a developer to use those commandlets. And that's still a problem. Well, not a problem, but that's still the design philosophy of the AD commandlets.
Yeah, it's a different concept in a way, right? Yeah. So Harm, what is your so you said you started with, did you say in 2006 with AD?
No, earlier. I started with the first versions actually. We were migrating away from Novel NetWare 5, I guess, 5.1 to Active Directory, leaving NT4 behind and doing it in a big insurance company. And you had like 2 camps. You had the Novell guys who were like religious about their Novell, and you had the Active Directory guys, which I was part of that team. And we had a lot of discussions about it. But that was the start. So I think I started with 2000 and then 2003 soon afterwards. Yeah.
Okay. And okay, great. And by the way, it was a product, right? It came with a box and with a CD. So it was something physical, you could touch in a way. So people maybe younger age don't you remember these kind of things, and I don't know.
Now it's just another download. It's all the ISO files, but
Yeah,
I
exactly.
remember getting
And-
that in my TechNet subscription pack.
it was like a birthday present every
Yeah.
time. Yep.
yeah. And also I think what's interesting about this stuff is that this guy, obviously, I read about, not sure it's true, but he was kind of the father of the Active Directory. So see, now I forgot his name. Jim Allchin, I think. Jim Allchin.
Yeah.
He kind of, that's at least what people say. He was the guy who came up with the concept, because I think he did it before with Banyan Wines, I think, in a kind of a similar way. And then
But it's still all based on LDAP, which was an open standard.
Yeah.
So, Active Directory is just Microsoft's implementation
yeah,
of the LDAP standard.
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember buying I probably still have it somewhere, a huge book on LDAP, thinking, okay, I got to learn LDAP. And then I realized, oh, no, I don't really have to learn LDAP. I just have to learn Active Directory and how they're implementing it. But
So we have, what is up to new LE command that make it easier to get and modify some properties?
well, yeah, go ahead and do that. You can do that because you can also use, you don't have to use the Microsoft commandlets. You can use the .NET framework and access the underlying .NET classes directly and write your own commands to do that. So, yeah.
And there is a really cool project by Jordan Borean from Red Hat. Because if you look at .NET versus .NET Framework, you will find that whereas you have the full capability of .NET Framework in .NET on Windows, of the relevant classes relevant to AD, only one has been ported to non-Windows systems, namely System Directory Services Protocols, which is the lowest level implementation. And Jordan took it upon himself to recreate AD commandlets that use Active Directory web services under the covers to use Active Directory Services Protocols namespace, which makes them cross-platform, makes them a lot faster, makes them a lot more compatible. Great stuff.
And I just
Wow.
pasted into our speaker chat a link to a module that I have up on GitHub that I wrote a couple of years ago to make it easier to just basically report on AD.
Oh, I'm just putting it, great. I'm just putting it into the official chat here.
Right.
Perfect. Yeah, so Andreas was asking, okay, what the ultimate best feature added in AD since 2000? Phew.
The recycle bin
Authentication
was not,
policies.
I think the recycle bin was not in the original release, and that was a big thing when that was added.
Time-based group membership was also one.
Yeah, the AD recycle bin, yeah.
Which one did you mention, Bruno?
Time-based group membership. You can add a user for two hours in one group. That's also a nice feature.
Ah, okay.
Role-based access. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and
Yeah,
somebody
JIT,
else?
JIT basically. Yeah, my favorites. I've become a security guy over the course of the years. So my absolute favorite are authentication policies that were introduced with 2012 R2. And this is probably also the most underutilized feature of the whole of AD.
Are you talking about the fine-grained password policies?
No, I mean authentication policies in Kerberos.
Okay.
Okay, so here we have another.
Oh, managed service accounts.
Yeah. That I think that was a big one too. We
Yeah,
see
that was a big
this.
one for a lot of companies. Yeah.
We see this with our customers. I'm talking to a lot, so they use this whenever they can. Yeah. So, and then there's another question, also interesting. Okay, what feature would you like to see in Active Directory? But maybe this is a good point to come back actually to the to the milestones, because interesting enough, now with Server 2025, all of a sudden, new features are coming up, right, for Active Directory.
Well, new features in the sense that they're taking away things for security purposes.
Yeah, but they're changing the database. I think they have some new database functionality from
I've not had
what
a chance to load up 25 yet.
from what I heard. So
Much
I
larger
guess
capacity.
I guess Yevgeny is probably up to date with all that stuff. So I was really surprised that obviously Microsoft talking about cloud everywhere, but they are actually now coming up in 2025 with some enhancements in AD. This is really amazing, I think.
Yeah, I think you'll have to update your force and domain levels to take advantage of those things, my guess.
Absolutely. And by the way, since we are a PowerShell themed group here, this update might break functionality in some of your scripts that use like comparisons, because in spite of the functional level being stored as an integer value in AD, the commandlets and also the .NET classes will return it as a string. So if you're checking your functional level against the number 7, for example, then you might get the wrong result once it becomes 10, the way strings comparisons are done. So make sure to move the value you're comparing to the left and to enforce the value returned from AD to be converted into integer.
And what could possibly go wrong?
This is I would say this is some important hint for people. I would say that's okay. Whoa!
Yeah, because I've seen it break. I've seen it break already in the field.
Wow! This is, but okay. This is some good stuff here. And talking about AD, still alive and kicking. Just as a shameless plug. Coincidentally, next week we have a webinar about Active Directory automation with PowerShell, obviously. So if you maybe new to the topic or you want to learn some more, that might be interesting for you. And in terms of the learning process, we have another question here saying, okay, new to the platform. How to learn Azure Active Directory, because of course, obviously, that's something that came along. Any suggestions? Any sources that comes to mind on the top of your head?
Yeah, Microsoft Learn, but you have to look for Entra ID, not for Azure Active.
Azure.
Oh yeah. But in 2013, it was still Azure AD, right? So
Yeah,
but
but
that was the biggest issue because the name is Azure Active Directory. You might assume that it's Active Directory like, but it's not.
Yeah. That's why it's a different platform to learn, right? Yeah. Yeah, but I think you're right. The Learn platform is probably a good starting point. And I guess as always there are a lot of books out there. I don't know if Evgeny, your book, is it also touching on Azure or is it AD?
It's touching on it. It mentions it being there, but the book is on premises Active Directory basically. It does recommend like putting the clients in the cloud and using cloud Kerberos from there. It hints at how it might be set up and so on. But no, I'm not writing a cloud book. It all changes so fast. It just, I don't know. I could never keep up with the speed of changes on that front.
Just like AI. But talking we talk about your book. So what was your motivation to write this book on AD?
I now work at Sampras. Sampras is a company that makes software for Active Directory and Entra ID security. And prior to moving to Sampras, I worked in consulting for like over 25 years. My whole consulting career was overshadowed by Microsoft Windows and AD and all that technology, and I accumulated quite an amount of I don't know, thoughts and principles that I would always offer to my customers individually on an engagement, and I just didn't want to go to see all that go to waste, and I thought, yeah, let's write that down. Let's see if we can formalize those principles, if we can lay it out in a form that would enable people to better understand what AD is all about. It's not a technical book on how you add a user to a group, because there is tons of stuff written about that. And there wouldn't have been any value in me adding any more. But it's a book about why you would do things in a certain way, why you would not do things in a certain way, and so on and so forth. So this is a why book, actually, rather than a what or a how.
How? Okay, interesting. And Bruno, before we started the live stream, you just came up with 2 incidents you experienced at a customer last week, right?
Yes, the first one was last week, but a few months ago, you can make a group member of itself in Active Directory.
Yeah.
Evgeny is agreeing with me. And the second one is you can join a computer which is named localhost to your Active Directory, and which is really fun if you do resolving.
Yeah, this is what I would call an edge case, right? I mean, this is coming to the idea to name a machine localhost. I mean, it's possible, obviously, but
but a group being a member of itself.
That's a step up from naming the host exit.
Yeah. But a group being member of itself is a particular case of a more general one of having a circular group membership, which breaks all sorts of stuff, including performance of domain controllers, by the way.
Yes. And we had the application doing the reverse lookup of the groups, so login was not possible anymore.
Oh yeah, great fun with that.
Yes, I even write a little script for it. Perhaps I should post it on GitHub at the end of the month.
That sounds
Good.
That sounds useful, because lots of people will end up running into it.
You know, the ancillary product to all of this is group policy. That was also became a really big thing when people went to Windows 2000 Active Directory. All of a sudden, I could manage all my desktop configurations through group policy, because that was very tedious to do before. We had enormous kickstart logon scripts and just got off of ways to do that. But group policy became a really big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just to govern everything in a central way, right?
Yeah.
Was really helpful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So maybe we'll make a quick round. Are there any fun experience, any strange experience, any things that happened while you were working with AD for yourself or for a customer in the past? Funny little password changes or whatever. Did everything work as smoothly as?
If the hardware didn't fail, I had a customer in which the hardware failed a lot of times, and then you start to learn how to recover Active Directory, how to move your FSMO roles, how to seize a role. Things got corrupted a lot if you have like the hard disk that fails so often. Yep. It's more the troubleshooting side. That's the fun side when things are broken. But it doesn't happen. The extract is pretty stable.
Yeah.
I
Jet
have to say,
database has grown really stable over the years. The first versions were pretty brittle, but it's constantly got better.
I had more this issue actually what you just mentioned with actually at that time with NetWare NDS, because it's also was pretty new. I think it was 4.1 or 4.11, where at one point within 24 hours, I think I was working through the whole night to reestablish the complete NDS I was working for SAS Institute in Germany at that time, and it was like, whoa. So rebuilding, because synchronization didn't work, and then it started to break there, and then it broke there, and then there was no way to you had just too many loose ends, and then the only solution was, okay, I have to completely rebuild it. But I never had to do this with AD.
Yeah.
I had a fun one a few years ago. A customer wrote a script to disable the local admin on a computer, but he ran it on the domain controller and it disabled all the accounts.
Whoa, clever. Okay.
Yes.
Good.
That's when you test your
Clever.
backup.
We didn't restore the machine, but they were using a software deployment solution that used the local system. So through that way, we injected into the local system a script which enabled all the accounts.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It was really
Also,
a nice day at the office.
I think that I can imagine. I mean, okay, now you have a story here from the audience.
Yes, with custom attributes, I guess. I had the same.
Okay.
Always
Oh,
tricky.
yes.
Yeah.
Schema. Yeah. Okay. Also nice one. Yeah. Yeah.
A nice one is always the application issues. When two domain controls on the talking, and then you have to repair them. Always scary stuff.
Absolutely.
I see people laughing in the background, so that's good, I guess.
Well, I knew whenever I worked with Active Directory to always have an out, to always have a backup rollback strategy. So I don't remember too many problems with the migrations I did. I think because we had a solid strategy, so if something went wrong, we could roll back. Not that I recall ever having to roll back, but I think we had the practice. I think we probably practiced rolling back to see how the whole process would work. But I know that whenever I worked with AD, I always made sure that I had an exit strategy, a rollback strategy, I guess I should say more accurately.
I think this is great advice. Absolutely. Yeah. Especially with something like AD, which is, I mean, mission critical, right?
Yeah, because you can make a change, and all of a sudden that change replicates halfway around the world before you even realize, oh crap, I just deleted that account. I didn't mean to do that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So because I think we just hit the 30 minutes mark, so we don't want to make it too long. But if you look into the future for Active Directory, maybe if we start with you, Harm, again. So what do you think? Is it like Yevgeny said, off to another 25 years? What's your expectation?
Not sure if it will be another 25 years, but 10, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I'll give another 10 years.
Well, 10
Yeah.
years are guaranteed. It's a supported feature in Server 2025, so 10 years of AD support are guaranteed. So that's a no-brainer, Harm.
Get the OS support in
Let's up it
2025,
a bit.
obviously.
Let's
But
up it.
I don't see any more, even though it's more of a hybrid world still, it will still be in another 10 years. I don't know.
Yeah, so I
I can't see
Jeff?
AD going away. I just can't, because there's always going to be some small company, or small, I guess is a relative term, but smaller company that won't or can't go to the cloud, and they'll need some directory service, some identity management service, and AD will fill that role, especially if it just ships with Windows. Unless these companies start moving away from Windows, if something else were to come along, yeah, then maybe that would change, and Microsoft would just say, well, that's fine. We'll just have everyone be up in the cloud. And that's where Microsoft wants everyone anyway. So I think Microsoft is keeping AD around because there are still some customers who are paying a lot of money for it to continue to be developed and maintained.
Yeah.
As soon as those companies decide, yeah, we're done, that's a different story then.
Yeah, so I think coming back to what Evgeny said with 10-year guaranteed time, the question is how many companies in 10 years' time, even they could, are still doing it? I guess that's the interesting
I think
question.
the crucial question is what Jeff said, right? Whether the companies will stick with Windows or move to a different operating system platform, because everybody will still need an authentication authority. Everyone will still need some sort of lookup, authorization, all these sort of things. And there are lots of businesses who cannot connect to any cloud, or even if they could, then having their mission critical application depend on a resource that is far away might not be a viable option. And then there will be air-gapped networks in law enforcement. There will be air-gapped networks in banking, in treasuries, in all those other organizations. As long as they continue using Windows in those network segments, there is no big incentive to do anything else but AD, because it's there, it's shipped with Windows Server, it's a proven technology. There is lots of stuff that has been written, both in terms of books and in terms of scripts, to automate that. So that is good. If they start moving to Linux or some other sort of operating system for those applications, then of course, even if they still need an LDAP compatible directory to provide for the authentication needs of those applications, that doesn't have to be Active Directory anymore. That is true.
Right. Yeah. Good point. So Bruno, what's your take on the future of Active Directory?
As long as there's no competitor with the same options like certificate authorities, and so Active Directory will be the main product. The moment a competitor is active in the market, then I guess we will see a big move to new technologies or new vendors.
Yeah. So, but I also think it will be around for quite some time. I can see this with a lot of companies that I'm talking to in a hybrid scenario. And so, but I would agree, probably it's not in another 25 years, but some more years to come, which is great. And I mean, already 25 years is amazing if you think about it. It's what the guy said. I read an article this morning where back in the day they made fun of the product because they said the reason why it's called Windows Server 2000 was because there were 2,000 developers working on it. But they said I think they said I think it were 200 or something that were responsible for developing the foundation of Active Directory, and it's still around, right? So that is I think really. I guess we will have maybe another anniversary live stream, maybe 5 years down the road. So let's see how the world looks like in 5 years. Yeah. So I think that's kind of wraps up our little celebration live stream for Active Directory 25 years. Thanks to Harm, Jeff, Evgeny, and Bruno to do that together with me. That was awesome. Thanks for everyone who joined in and for the questions and your comments. And of course, you can continue to comment either on YouTube or on LinkedIn, because that's on both platforms. It's going to be stored anyway. So if there are any other questions coming up, I think we can still also react on that. So again, thanks a lot for your time, for being here, and off to a few more years Active Directory.
Thanks for hosting us, Heiko.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.